Hi, today we are in San Francisco and doing good with GoodData. Roman, who are you and what do you do?
Roman Stanek, I'm the founder and CEO of GoodData, and we help companies to collect, store, organize, analyze, visualize, and distribute data.
Great. What did you do before you started this company?
I started number of companies, multiple companies, all in high-tech space. When Java was 2 months old, I started a company called NetBeans, and it's now part of Oracle. And then I moved on and started a company called Systinet, that's now part of HP, and it was one of the first cloud-based companies. AWS actually started. It was my first customer was AWS a long time ago.
So yeah, totally into clouds.
Totally in the cloud for the last exactly 11, 12 years, yes.
Great. And how did you come up with the idea of GoodData?
The GoodData idea is actually, my initial 20 years ago when I started my career, I actually spent time in the database business. I work for Sybase, and 7 years ago when I started, I looked around what the next opportunity could be. I kind of came up with this idea of kind of data in the cloud, and as the next big thing. And it was so early, the term big data was not coined there, and even the fact that I was able to buy GoodData.com tells you data was not in fashion in 2007 when we actually started the company.
Okay, great. And can you briefly describe how the business model works at GoodData?
So the business model is a SaaS model. So we don't, it's a subscription-based model. We, as I said, we help companies to manage their data, and GoodData is an end-to-end platform. So we do every single step from getting the data to getting, the finished visualization and dashboards and so on. And we charge monthly fee for it, and that's kind of the most predictable and the most efficient way how companies can buy analytics these days.
Okay, and are you focusing on a specific kind of function in a company, like marketing, sales, finance, whatever, or is it that you have a general platform for everything related to data?
It is actually. On one hand, GoodData is generic platform, so it can be used by IT and different parts of organization. But if you look at what's happening in the modern enterprise, only 5-7 years ago, most of the data was created inside of the firewall in some ERP function, in some SAP and so on, and that's where most of the analytics used to be. Now the analytics is all focused on external, the touch points with customers, how do we interact, with our customers and prospects and partners on the web, on social and mobile and so on. So most of the data is actually created outside of the firewall, and that's why we analyze it in the cloud. And the next step will be kind of the Internet of Things, when 99% of the data will be created outside of the firewall. So now we analyze the interactions of our customers' data. In a couple of years, we will be analyzing interactions with devices of our customers, and that's kind of the next evolution of big data.
How did you acquire the first customers when you started out?
How did we acquire customers? It's actually it's interesting. That's kind of, if you look at being entrepreneur, your first customer is almost like your VC. They almost get no benefit out of it, not even equity, not even equity. And so the first customer needs to be somebody who really trusts you, who actually, who is so visionary that they want to do better than just for the company. They want to help, the whole industry. Because it's a lot of work. Working with a product that's half built, half baked, not ready, it's actually a lot of work. And even if you get it for free, it's still difficult.
Okay. And how do you convince those guys?
Oh, it's again, it's they need to be visionary. You don't need to convince them. Okay. They almost need to convince you. It's the first customer needs to be somebody who says, well, I'm looking for this to increase the competitiveness of my company. I'm really into it. It's it really needs to be kind of almost like your co-founder.
Okay, great. Let's talk about corporate strategy. So what do you think is the distinction between you and your competitors?
So what really makes us kind of sets apart is, first of all, we really have this vision for solving the problem completely. Most companies, if you ask them, what do? They say, well, we do a Hadoop, or we do visualization, or we do data cleansing, or some of the aspects of data management, and we essentially do the whole end-to-end from data to insights.
Okay, great. If you're looking at your product strategy for the next 3 to 5 years, what are the areas you would like to dig into?
So the next 3 to 5 years, as I said, it's going to be a lot about the volume of data, Internet of Things, unstructured data. More and more data is now being produced by, the way we interact, the visual and social and so on. It's also going to be about being able to, find insights automatically, machine learning and so on. And the last one is kind of ability to benchmark data automatically. So, it's if I tell you that you can close a deal in 20 days, it's valuable. But if I tell you that your competitors close deals in 10 days, that you're not doing well. So being able to kind of put data in perspective is going to be more and more important.
Okay. When you look at the marketplace, there are several big data startups who are just trying to solve one problem in one industry, like, for example, for the finance industry, banking, etc. There are several startups, and you're trying to solve this kind of big data problem for a lot of functions, a lot of industries. What is the reason behind doing that? Or would it be more, let's say, advantageous for focusing only on one industry and solving their problems much better?
Yeah, and I think this is kind of, as I said, we are, on one hand, we are a generic platform, but we really kind of focus on sales and marketing executive. That's where the most of the customer interaction actually is. And at the same time, kind of the cloud-based platform that is open and has APIs and so on, we actually let our customers to decide and take us where they want to take us.
Okay, great. If you look at the market in general, so what is your perspective on the major trends happening right now in the cloud industry?
So it's the cloud industry. First of all, the big players are really investing heavily. This city was full of Oracle in the last couple of days, and Oracle is saying, well, yes, it's not only Google and AWS, it's also Oracle. Microsoft is big in the cloud and so on. So it's really kind of industry that is maturing very fast, and it's being kind of endorsed by major players. And in 5 years, we will not see the traditional IT organization as we see today. It's going to all move to the cloud, and so the CIO will not stand for the informational infrastructure. It will actually be innovation.
Okay, and do you also see some kind of external certification companies, let's say, certifying security or data-related kind of concerns?
Oh, it's already happening. It's obviously the security and privacy. We actually a big part of it. We are kicking off our data privacy initiative, almost like a bill of rights of customers. But there are many organizations that do it. SOC 2, ISO 27000, HIPAA, and so on. So there are many organizations that do this.
Okay, great. I mean, you started several companies, Roman. What advice would you give your son if he would ask you, what should I start a company and how should I do it?
I would say, at the end of the day, being an entrepreneur, it's you have to really work hard. It's all about being all in what you do, and being extremely paranoid. Every time you have a good idea, you have to always assume that there will be 10 people who actually do the same. And so it's at the same time, you have to assume a lot of risk, because you do something that nobody has done before you. So it's kind of that combination of being able to be all in into a area or initiative that nobody believes in. Mm-hmm. That's kind of combination that's difficult for many people. Mm-hmm. Some people like to work hard, but they would not take the risk. Some people like to take the risk, but they are not willing to work that hard. And you have to do both.
What advice can you give somebody who says, I want to start a company, but I don't have an idea?
Go and get a job and see where there are problems. That's how many large companies started, by somebody saying, well, I worked for this large company, I was kind of, disappointed by this missing piece of the process, or I clearly saw there's something missing, and I went and automated it. And that's actually, I think that's the safest way how to start a company, is to actually spot the problem on somebody's payroll.
And what other advice would you give your son?
To my son, for my sons, it's all about, you know, spend a lot of time in school learning not only how to play with computers, but how to read and how to develop some critical thinking and how to be creative and so on. Because this century is going to be all about creativity and critical thinking. It's going to be flexible. It's going to be a century when flexible and adventurous and creative people will actually win.
Roman, thank you very much for your time.
Excellent.
And
thank you.
And for you, thinking about starting a company, next time you try to assess an idea, be critical about it. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Roman.